I'd like to call this special meeting of the City Council October 22nd, 2013 to order. Madam Clerk, roll call. All present, Mr. Councilman Herzog. Invocation will be led by Ms. Kathy McCullough, Mayor Pro Tem.
To choose, you can be silent or bow your heads. Join with me. First of all, Father, I'd like to lift up our nation, for we're having many disasters and all types of things. And second of all, our state and our county, and then last but not least, our city. And Father, we're at a point in time in our city that we need some guidance for someone stronger than ourselves and more knowledgeable than ourselves. And for no other means, for me, I have to come to you. And I ask that you keep our people, and I ask that you give the four of us that's up here the wisdom and the knowledge and the guidance to do the right thing. Let us remember our oath that we are servants to you first and then the people. In your precious name, amen and amen.
By face the flag. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible.
Members of the public may address the City Council regarding any item within the subject matter of the City Council. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person with an overall time limit of 30 minutes for public comments portion of the agenda. Any person wishing to the City Council, any whether or not it appears on the agenda, is to complete a request to speak form at the door at the side and complete the form and submit it to the City Clerk prior to the individual being heard by the City Council. Whenever possible, lengthy testimonies should be presented to the City Council in writing. 8 copies and only permanent points presented orally. Additionally, a request to register written comments form is available at the public agenda counter. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
We've had no requests.
The only action item on this special meeting agenda this evening is options filling the council vacancy for the prior term ending November 2014, which was created when Councilman Herzog submitted his resignation to the City Council meeting of October 15th. May we please have a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I will defer to the City Clerk for an introductory staff report, followed by any comments that the City Attorney may have for you.
Mayor and members of the Council, as you are aware, on October 15, 2013, Councilmember Peter Herzog officially resigned from the Lake Forest City Council effective immediately. Most recently elected in November of 2010, his term expires in November of 2014. The Government Code provides the manner and process for filling a City Council vacancy and essentially provides 3 alternatives that the Council may act on. Option 1, the Council may appoint a successor for the remainder of the term. Should the Council wish to appoint an applicant to fill the vacancy, staff recommends the City advertise the vacancy and provide an application form. The Council, if it also desires, may establish criteria for the application form, such as the completion of a candidate statement or other desired information that you may wish to ask. Staff is also recommending the Council require applicants to file a statement of economic interest form with their applications, just as Council candidates running for election are required to do so. The deadline for making an appointment, should the Council wish this option, would be Saturday, December 14th, 2013. Option 2, the Council may call a special election to elect a successor for the remainder of the term. The government code states that the election would need to be held at the next regularly scheduled election date. Should the council call a special election to fill the vacancy, the election must be held on Tuesday, April 8th, 2014. The Orange County Registrar of Voters indicates that there are no other offices, initiatives, or measures slated for the April 8th election that would result in a standalone election for Lake Forest. And the city may contract with the registrar to conduct this election, but we would be responsible to pay the full cost of conducting the election. The estimate from the Registrar of Voters is in the range of $166,000 to $188,000. In the event council wishes to call a special election, staff would return at a future regular meeting with the appropriate resolutions. Just like the deadline to appoint, the deadline to call the election is December 14th. And then option 3 is somewhat of a hybrid. The council may appoint a successor to serve pending a special election to fill the vacancy. If the city council chooses this course of action, it may call the special election and thereafter may make an interim appointment. This option also requires the council to adopt by unanimous vote an urgency ordinance that amends the Lake Forest Municipal Code allowing this option. If the council chooses, the staff would return at a future regular meeting with the appropriate resolutions and the urgency ordinance. And then once again, the deadline for taking this action is also Saturday, December 14th. That concludes staff's presentation, and at this time, and the city attorney and I are available if you have any questions.
Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item?
We've had no requests.
Are there any questions from the council?
Mayor Boyd, will you entertain a motion at this point?
I have a question or two.
Yes, sir. Yes.
If we, on option 3, put one in until, that would be till April 8th, which would be the special election, but it'd still be $166,000 to $188,000.
That's correct.
There's no way to there's no way the city could go on until the June primary and let the people choose one at the June primary.
Everything related to the filling of a vacancy is tied to a date specific, and the government code states that first that you'd have to act within 60 days of Mr. Herzog's resignation, which takes us to Saturday, December 14th. Then the code kicks in that the special election, if you call it, would be at the first regularly scheduled election date as identified in the elections code that is not less than 114 days after the day you call the election. Well, even if you waited until December 14th, the last possible day, to call the election, 114 days would be the earliest you could have it. That's, by coincidence, April 7th. Therefore, it must be held on April 8th, the next regularly scheduled election day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Motions?
I move to for the council to adopt option 1, specifically the appointment process.
Second?
All in favor? No. Open for discussion.
This has been a very challenging one. Spent a lot of time thinking about it, and the overriding issue for me is definitely the cost. It's very significant. I don't feel like we should put that on the backs of the taxpayers. It's their money. It's not our money, and I don't want to spend their money on an election where someone might serve for a short period of time. My struggle has been that I feel like having someone up here is always, it should, as much as possible, be in the hands of the voters. And that's where my struggle's been. If we would have been 6 months or a year into a term, I think that I'd probably be going a different direction tonight. But since we're so close to the end of this term, I think that it makes the most sense. So, I'm going to be supportive of the motion, but I just want to make sure that my comments were, and my reasoning was clear. I'd much rather that the voters had the opportunity to make this decision themselves, but the cost with the short period of time that the person will actually serve is what's driving me to this decision right now.
And on that, let's clarify item number 1. So that's, I too am concerned about the costs to the city, and the fact that we as the council members that are existing here will be able to choose someone to be a placeholder until the November 14th election, where so the people of Lake Forest could speak.
That's correct. The appointment would fill the remainder of Mr. Herzog's term.
So it's just to fill it, to put one in until November.
November. The person who is appointed, should they wish to continue to serve on the council, would have to run for election in November.
It's troubling to me that we've been put into this position of possibly spending that kind of money, but being good stewards, I feel that we have so many things and so many things that we have on the agenda to complete in the city of Lake Forest. I know that we have the future dog park of Lake Forest, community gardens, possibly the arena soccer. We have things.
Village Pond?
We want to move forward with the village pond. I'm.
He was trying to get to your list. I was just helping you get the list. You had forgot one.
No,
But I do have something to say when you finish.
No, you go first, please.
First of all, I definitely would like to give the citizens the opportunity to choose the person that come. I don't believe that anyone can replace another person. Each person up here comes with their own uniqueness, but I would like the people to have that opportunity. But when I look at almost 170,000 up to almost 90,000, that stuns me when I know the things that we are attempting to do and the things we'd like to do. So because I vote for option 1 does not mean we definitely will carry through option 1. I don't know if you got a chance to read the papers. I know we have it, but for me, when we get things at last minute, sometimes you don't always get a chance to finish before it's time. So fortunately, we get it ahead of time so we can go over with a fine-tooth comb and ask city attorneys and city managers and city clerks and any other staff information. Because in doing so, even though we go through an application process, if we do not get 3 votes and we do not finish the process before the 60 days is up, it forces it to a vote. Now, the thing that I'd be concerned about with that is that we don't just throw someone in there. We don't get someone that's not qualified. We don't get someone that can't hit the ground running. This is a city that's doing a lot of things and always have been very busy. And whether it's a staff member that has to know their business and not be friends or political party, it's got to be someone that has the heart for our city. And if they don't have the heart for our city, since this is something we're going to appoint, then we need to let it go to election. Because we have to have someone that know and have a strong conviction to learn. Yes, we always going to have something to learn, just like officers and policemen and firemen and our clerks and everyone. There's always teachers' process of continual education. But we don't want someone that got a curve that's so large that it's going to hinder the process and all the things that we're doing. And if they don't have a heart for the city, they're not going to do right by the city. Because there's things that's going to be important for the city that they're going to blow off and not attend or not participate or just vote willy-nilly, you know. So the thing is that for my first option would be, if there was an election that we could piggyback on, my first option would be, let's go to vote. But really, option number 1 is my second option. because if we can come to an agreement on 1, 2, 3 of someone we feel that could not fill Peter's shoes, but that could fill the vacancy that our city has with wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and passion, that's why I'm choosing option 1. Thank you, Mayor.
So with that being said, we have.
Just want to make a quick comment. I am financially prudent. I am financially prudent, no doubt about it. However, the cost is almost $200,000. That said, a planning commission member, as I articulated time and time again, needs to be the extension of the council. The council itself is the extension of the voters, the people of Lake Forest. So the planning commission, the planning commissioner, although an extension of the council is directly an extension of the council, is indirectly an extension of the people of Lake Forest, no doubt about that. Again, the operative word being indirectly. The planning commissioner is indirectly an extension of people because it goes through the council, and it's the council's prerogative for that, as I have articulated time and time again over the last few weeks. However, the council needs to be directly, not indirectly, the council needs to be directly the extension of the very people of Lake Forest. That is where my heart is. However, almost $200,000 for about 12 months, give or take, it is not prudent, at least not at this point. I think we should go through the appointment process. I think it should be very, very transparent. It will be. And I am looking forward to the people of Lake Forest holding us accountable, holding each one of us four accountable to explain his or her vote. Hold us accountable to our vote, and judge for yourself who votes how and based on what. Again, we must do whatever we can to do the second best. The best we cannot do an election. The second best would be to appoint someone who has time and time again proven to be an extension of people. We'll talk about that at a later time. This is not the time for it. Based on that reasoning, I made the motion to, at least at this point in time, not resort to a special election. However, I do understand that it is still an option, but it would be the last resort. Let us do what we can over the next 7 weeks or so, and hopefully we'll come up with an appointment that is well justified and well reasoned, and hopefully we can all agree on that, or at least 3 of us. That will be the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, we'll resort to the expensive option, and I certainly hope it won't come to that, but it'll be an option. At this point, we don't have to exercise that option. Let's do what we can do first, and hopefully everybody will be happy with the result. Thank you.
At this time, yay. Call a vote. Yay.
Aye. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We don't need roll call.
You don't need roll call, just ask for favor.
All. It's time.
Inasmuch as you've selected option 1, the staff's recommendation clearly is that the city advertise this vacancy and that there be an application process that would be undertaken. We've identified in our staff report, at least preliminarily, and of course we put this together pretty quickly in order to get it here for you this evening, but fundamentally our recommendation is that it include a statement of economic interest, so that clearly is something the individual who is eventually appointed, if so, would have to fill out. We believe that's probably appropriate information by which the council could learn of those interests prior to any sort of appointment. As well as we would include in that application process the various documents that the council runs by. So, for example, your rules of conduct. Of course, we don't know how many people might be interested in applying. We know when we had the last Planning Commission vacancy that there was a large number, and it was a very long evening. If that were to occur in this instance, then staff's recommendation would be that the council hold, again, a special meeting, something where you could spend more time rather than trying to rush people in and out. So that would be one of the things that we would suggest that you ask for us to do. What might be prudent is for the council to ask us to put together a calendar of events and bring that back to you in terms of when's the last possible date we have to act and how does that work for us. It should be a time frame in which those who might be interested have obviously sufficient time to put together whatever materials those are that the council desires to see, beyond an interest form, 700 form, but a resume or whatever else that you would deem to be prudent. As well as then the time for the council to review all those things before you start interviewing. If there's a large number of candidates who are interested, there could be a way, I think, and we've seen this in other jurisdictions, where the council could act to try and narrow the field before you actually do interviews. And if you're interested in something of that nature, then we could bring that back to you, as well as a calendar. For example, there are instances where rather than interviewing everyone, the council members review those applications and decide and nominate a couple of people off of a list, and collectively that's who you interview. We could give you those additional options if you're interested in things of that nature, or any other method that the council believes might be helpful in trying to manage the process. Of course, you could interview everyone. And particularly if it's a short list, that's what we would recommend that you do. We did not include all of those alternatives and options that you could think about in this report, because we've honestly still been working on that, but we'd be really interested in hearing what it is that the council would like to see from each of the applicants in order for you to make the best informed decision. So those are just some ideas, but we'd like to hear from you as to what you would like to see.
Obviously, it's dependent upon how many applications we get in, but I definitely like the idea of putting together the calendar for us that set final deadlines and possible nights for a special meeting for us. But some options to maybe where we could review the applications and have time to go over those, and possibly some options whether we do a subcommittee or each of us pick a few of our top candidates, maybe some options that we could possibly come back with. I like that idea too. So, but
I don't.
May I?
yeah, you may.
If I could have the floor, great. Thank you, Mayor Royce. Mayor Royce. Going back to the premise that I spoke of, I am adamant about the fact that unlike the Planning Commission, where the commissioners are indirectly get to be the extension of the people of Lake Forest, I am as adamant as I am about that. I am equally adamant that the council members need to be directly elected and be the extension of the very people of Lake Forest. That said, that's one reason. The second reason is if we were to get applications, and I don't care about the quantity, could be 1,000 applications, I would be here for as long as it takes, and I would be here for as often as I need to be. That does not concern me. The time element does not concern me. We have 2 months. We can essentially interview every single resident in Lake Forest. 2 months is a lot of time to do that. However, that process will be subject inevitably to bias, or at least perceived bias on the part of each of us. And again, through that process, the individual may or may not be the extension of people. And I cannot emphasize enough how much the person needs to be an extension, a direct extension of the people of Lake Forest. And I think we already have that individual, or those individuals, who have proven to be first runner-up and second runner-up, etc., in the last couple of elections. I would like to shy away from putting applications out there and then selecting subjectively a handful of them to interview, or even interviewing all of them. Still, the appointment process would be subjective. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I have no right to do that, in my opinion. Legally, I do. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. Imagine this: if back in the 2010 election, there were 3 seats and 3 individuals won. If the third person, if any of those 3 individuals had, God forbid, a fatal heart attack, or changed his or her mind between the day of the election to the day of swearing in, if something happened to that individual, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. City Attorney, if I could beg of you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think by operation of law, it would have automatically gone to the first, it would have, the seat would have definitely gone to the first runner-up. Let's say the first runner-up didn't want to serve after all, it would have gone to the second runner-up. I think that's how the law would have, by default, would have operated. Again, we have those results. Let's just make this a very, very objective process, and I think, well, not everybody may be happy, but everybody should be content that it is what it is. People spoke, and I think we already have that person. Now, that said, we don't, correct me if I'm wrong.
Excuse me, Councilman, we're talking about right now the process and taking
But I just wanted to ask quickly, if I could, we don't have to actually put out get applications and put out notices and all that, right? Or do we?
No, Mayor and Council, the council doesn't need to do that. It's up to council discretion. What I want to be careful about is, tonight, we're only authorized by agenda to talk about the process.
Oh, okay.
Not about potential.
All right, well, the process is appointment, so great, thank you. I apologize if I spoke.
No, we haven't strayed yet, so thank you.
I'm just anxious to get this over with. Thank you, and thank you for listening to me.
Councilman Robinson.
I think that we're already contradicting the vote that we made just a few minutes ago. So, I mean, if we look at option 1, it said, should the council wish to appoint an applicant to fill the vacancy, staff would advertise the vacancy and provide an application form. It sounds like we'd be deviating from that if we didn't follow that. So I think that we need to stick with that process. That's what we just all unanimously agreed to. So that would be my request. And I think that it's our vote to the city manager calendar, absolutely. So I want to make sure that I understand the schedule thoroughly so that we can wrap our hands around it. And you know, also it would be my preference that we have as few special meetings as possible, just because I know that there are probably a lot more people in the community that would like to be here today, but because of the nature of how this was put together, and it had to be in such a quick period of time, we probably have fewer people, residents in the audience than we typically would. So the more we can keep this on regular agenda, that would be my preference, just because I know it's already a challenge for a lot of people, if you have children or you have other things in your schedule, just to be here. I don't want all of you to feel like you have to be here every Tuesday between now and December 14th or whatever day it is. I know it said somewhere in here, resume optional. I'd really like to see a resume. I'd like to see as much detail as possible about the individual. I'm glad that in the option one that we picked, I believe the city clerk suggested that we include the 700 form statement of economic interest. I think that's really important. It's important when you're trying to run for office, when you first submit your paperwork, and so I think that's critical and vital here. So I'm glad we included that. As far as the application, I'm probably going to have to come back to this. I'm trying to wrap my head around, some of the questions that I would personally have. But, I know that in the recommended application here, there are certain questions, and so far those all look fine to me. With respect to the interview, I know that it comes down to how many candidates we actually have, but correct me if I'm wrong, when in the commission process, we typically give them 3 minutes, 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think we're doing 3. You got to expect that you'd have, maybe 5 to 8 minute turns.
Yeah.
You may want to provide more time in this
and
process.
I'm feeling like I would like a lot more time. I mean, it's one thing with a commissioner who, they're doing very important things for the city, but, again, as Councilman Nick has mentioned, we're the ones that are directly elected by the people, and so, those commission decisions can be overturned. They usually aren't, but they can be by those that are elected by the people. So I want to make sure that the person that's sitting up here is someone that I feel very comfortable with, in using Mayor Pro Tem McCullough's words, not someone who could necessarily fill Peter's shoes, but who will fill the vacancy that we have here. And, I want to make sure that I personally make the residents proud with the decision we make here. I'm not going to make everybody happy. I know that's very clear, because we'll probably have a lot of different candidates, but I want you to feel like we've been as transparent as possible, and that the reason why the decision was made. You might not agree, but that you understand why it was made, and that's clear. So all that said, I'd like that interview process to be longer. I can't really define it yet. I think it should be defined at that point in time when we have that number of candidates that are applying. So if we only have a few, I might want to give them a lot of time, and only give them a lot of time. I wouldn't require it that someone has to get up to that podium and speak for 30 minutes if they don't feel like it. But again, I don't want to. I want to find the best possible person that I believe we can put up here with us for this short period of time, and that's been my whole struggle in all of this, is how we go through that process. And I think this is probably the best option we have at this. So those are my comments right now. I'm just not sure exactly all the questions that I'd like to see on the application. I don't want it to be so significant that it scares people away. And at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm getting as much information I possibly can. So thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, City Manager, for giving us the ability to give you directions. I heard you call to give you a little directions from us. Number one, we have 60 days, and we've used some of those. And I don't give a hee-haw if we have a special meeting every week. I do not want this taken up on council night, because we have too many things on our agenda. We have a lot of stuff going on in the city, and we will not have the time to give it the quality that we need. I do not want a standard form that we use for commissioners, because it's not detailed enough for our council. And I do not care if they do not apply because of the hard questions, because they're going to have hard decisions to make when they get up here. And if they can't handle it on that side, they definitely won't be able to handle it on this side, because there is times that you're going to be tossed on what to do, and you're going to have to do your homework, and you're going to have to answer and ask hard things. So if they're that weak, they should not apply. If you know someone that's going to apply and you know they cannot hit the ground running, I ask you, please tell them, don't waste time. I don't care if it's 100 zillion people and we only have 87,000, and that's including children that apply, but they got to be 18. But the thing is, I don't care how many it is. I'm concerned about the methodology, the process that we're going to do. I do not want to take and do little groups and they do this and that. I want somebody up here who talks about transparency all the time. He's to my left. I don't have to call his name. And I want it so transparent that if they have a pimple, it will be in their paperwork. I do not want the little mess that some people do. They handwrite and fill in little blanks and nothing else, and then they get up here and say much and nothing. I want details. I want them to be explained. So somewhere down the line, someone is going to have to gather them together before they get in front of this mic in front of us, because we are literally doing what our citizens normally would do themselves or should do for themselves and know something about these people. A multi-million-dollar corporation, and you just got some people to give you the little bit of scribble that be on the commissioned papers, and you're going to put them over your corporation, you'd be a fool, stuck on stupid. So I want all the information I can get about them, and I want to take the time, and don't give me no little pet questions to ask them either, because I know what I want to ask them, and don't tell me I can only ask one thing. I'm going to ask what I need to ask to help me and the citizens to choose that person, because and I don't want them to come up here and think it's not. Please, don't waste our time. That's the way you cut it down. You cut it down by, if you are not qualified or you're not so close to teeny bit more than that, don't apply. If you don't know your city, you don't have a passion for it, don't apply. Because I'm not going to be easy. Now, I don't care what they do. They each got to answer to you for whatever. But you should hold our feet to the fire, since you're not getting a chance to vote this person in. That's if we can get 3 votes. That's the other thing you got to realize. If we don't do a good job and we don't make sure that we can get somebody that we get 3 votes, it's going to the public. And if I have been short and not giving you instructions, I will that you commission. I wish I could do ground checks, and I could and find out if there isn't any cronyism and any nepotism and any other kind of thing. Who are you affiliated with? When you got fired from the last city, you wouldn't put in for something. Well, what was it for? You know, I can't do that by law. Y'all can. I can't do that by law. But I tell you what, I want that person to give me enough. I want a real resume. I don't want just a little mess we get for commissioners, because this is not a commission. This is serious business. 78,000 people got to live with it, plus the new ones coming in, so we'll be close to 100,000. I don't care and if you don't want to be here that night that we meet, well, we'll wait on the vote. But I don't care if we have to meet every night. And I don't want this stuff that, oh, we're busy. There is nobody up here I would be willing to bet that is more busy than me. And yet and still, I'm willing to sacrifice and make sure that we do the best we can to get the person that we feel can fill the spot. And I want to make sure they don't have affiliations with something that's going to make this a political seat. That's not the kind of city we have. We have a city that has a heartbeat, and the heartbeat is the people. And I want someone with a heart. We also have a city that we're not cowards. We'll take on a fight and still keep standing. I want someone that's got the guts to say no and stand with their vote, or yes and stand by their vote, and not make excuses or lie about it. So I'm looking for a precise person. I don't know what y'all looking for, but I'm giving my staff instruction. Bob, you open the door. Now, you know if you open the door for me, I'm subject to walk in. I don't want no willy-dilly application. I want a regular resume, as if they were applying for a job, because some people all over this state may take and become a city council, mayor or mayor pro tem, or even your higher electeds. And they don't participate. They just go to the little meetings once or twice a month or whatever. and some take it serious, and it is a job. Now, you don't get paid, but it is a job. I work job making big money and never put in the kind of hours I put in here in the reading and the running to things. So if it's somebody that wants some money, they need to go somewhere else, because we ain't giving no money, and you don't get money. In fact, you're going to spend some of your own to help do some of the stuff you do. But if you just want a name for yourself, if you didn't have a name when you came, you're not going to get a name when you get here. So if you don't know who you are, our city is not this one to try to prove who you are. Find out who you are and then come back. Okay? So I'm just sending a message out there. I'm not trying to be funny or nothing, but my vote is very valuable to me. And I'm not going to toss it out there on some little old scribble mess, that little stuff that we do for the commissioners, because I'd like to tighten that up more too. But I'd like to also see the application before we call the people in, because if I feel the application isn't tight enough, I'm going to ask for more. I am glad you're asking all the stuff that we normally would have to ask, but I'd like it explained to the people about the conflict of interests and all this. And our city clerk is real good with that. She's one of the experts on that. She got it all in her head, too. She don't even have to look at a piece of paper. So I want them to understand what it means, because I don't want them saying, oh, well, I didn't know I could do that, and we come up with some mess. Or, well, I forgot to tell you that was my brother or my sister or my uncle's child. No, I don't want any of that mess either. And now, legally, if they were running, we don't have to give all that. But these citizens that are registered in our city, there's a possibility that they will not get a chance to vote on this. So I feel we need to be more particular, because what we're actually doing is taking your vote, and we're going to make that decision for you. And I know that it may or may not be a decision you're pleased with, and you may not understand why I do or do not vote for someone. But I want you to know that we've done our very best to take and have that application and the process. I don't care how incumbent that process is, because if they can't take that, they sure can't take it when they get here, babe. So that's what I'm looking for, a really tight process that's going to really divulge. And even if you put a paragraph on there, to, tell us something that you would like for us to know about you, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. See? But I want to see that application before we actually send it out, and have as many special meetings that's needed where we can do this process before that 60 days is up. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Now, on that, so we've got consensus that we'll begin a calendar put together. Now, what's the time frame for the requests for applications to be received, and when are we sending that notice out?
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think with your action this evening, we would post up your decision that it is in fact going to be an interview and appointment process. I believe the press is here, so they'll probably let people know. But fundamentally, we will get that word out quickly. I was just going through a calendar, and we have been giving some thought to this, but we do want to give you some I think, more specific dates.
Now, Mr. City Manager, as we were talking about this, November 5th and the 19th are both council meetings.
Yes, they are.
It has to go out before that, correct? And we have 10 days after that?
We looking at how much time you'd want to give applicants to consider and then put their materials together, how long the council wants to look at them prior to the time that you might be someone, you'd want to give that at least a month. And consequently, I think the process would be one where it would probably be best to ensure that application is available at the very 1st of November for the community, so they could look at it, because the council would want to make your appointment obviously before the absolute deadline, but looking at that calendar going back, your first meeting of December is around the 3rd, I believe. You'd have another Tuesday after that. That would be the 10th. You probably want to act no later than around the 10th or 11th or 12th. You obviously wouldn't want to meet on Saturday morning. That's the last possible day to do it. So, looking at that last week would be your absolute. We'll work a calendar to it. I think what's important is to get the process going, and consequently, we do have an application that's attached to this agenda item that's been developed. The sense I get is that the council probably thinks those things that are there are fine, but it may not be enough. What I would suggest is that at this juncture, in order to keep this process going, that each member of the council think about the questions that you believe would be pertinent, that you'd want to see in an application, and provide those to the city clerk as quickly as you can, so that we can put that application on your agenda for no later, obviously, than your meeting of November 5, so that you could approve it. But that gives us about a month, I think, in order to get this process underway. So if you could get us your additional questions, we'll bring those back in some recommended form that the council could approve, and you could make final approval of the application itself at your meeting of November 5.
Okay.
It's probably the thing to do, giving people at least a couple of weeks in order to apply, and then the council a couple of weeks by which to look at those, and at the same time, when we bring that back to you, I think we have to have some time in there when we see the number of applications, and bring back to you in an interim step how you want to proceed with respect to that.
So application would go out after November 5th, after we add...
I think it would be available November 6th, unless the council wishes for the staff to finalize and put it out, but that's your prerogative. I'm hearing from Mayor Pro Tem McCullough, she wants to look at the last form of this thing before it goes. If that's going to happen, it should be all of you in a public meeting.
Okay. I'm okay with that, bringing back the questions, and all of us get to submit questions, and then we'll have final approval on November 5th of the questions and the application. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
One of the things that I'm asking, along with whatever you come up with, whatever form of application, this is okay, but I'm looking for a full resume.
I think that's one of the things we would require.
And that's one of the things that, what you have here is okay, and whatever they add to it. But one of the things I really would like to see is a full resume. If they were going for a job, they would put their best foot forward and put a full resume. Now, I grant you, we don't pay real money here at our city, but it is a real job, and that's what I'm looking for, a full resume. And the ones that choose to only answer these, they're going to be shortchanging themselves when I look at it, because I'm looking for a full resume to be attached beside what we come up with. I want a full resume attached. That helps me to know that person, pull a little bit of personality out and see what they've been doing and where they're coming from. My vote is valuable. I need that information.
Mr. Members of the council, when you look at the form that staff provided, it's page 6 of the agenda. It says the first is background and qualifications, attach resume if desired. What I'm sensing is maybe striking the word if desired in requiring. Would you all want to agree to that at this juncture? I see several heads nodding. If that's what you'd like us to do, we can strike that language and request that the resume be attached as a requirement.
Yes.
Right, just waiting for my turn to speak.
Are you done, Mr. Seaman?
Mr. Mayor, if to that point, I guess, if the council feels that this form, as modified with that, is sufficient, then we don't need to bring anything back to you. But what I was offering is, if there's additional questions, because I believe I heard Councilmember Robinson was thinking about other things he might want to have. So rather than trying to do it tonight, it was giving you some more option. We're obviously willing to go with what you see here, but wanted making sure that all members of the council have everything that they wanted inputted into this before it's final, was the reason that I was suggesting that.
Okay. Councilman.
Okay, I don't mean to be stepping on your toes there. Also included in this, what we approved in option 1 was a candidate statement, correct? So, I'm hoping that kind of gives the potential candidates some free rein to tell us as much about yourselves as possible. So in the sample ballot, it gives you a limit on words. I don't have a limit on words, so at some point on page 497 of your of your autobiography, I might start falling asleep. But I want to get as much information as possible, that tells me about who's going to sit up with us here for that roughly 12-month period of time. So,
Councilman Nick.
I'm sitting here thinking, the number one reason that I decided to migrate to America many, many years ago, and I had many options in the Western Hemisphere, was because of the promise of equality, the promise of equal opportunity, not equal outcome, equal opportunity. The outcome is up to you. So I need to think more about this. But at this point, I'm thinking on one hand, I'm thinking this is very unfair, subjecting applicants to questions that are subjective, that are just made by us. And I certainly wasn't subjected to those questions. Actually, when I decided to run, it was very, very basic. I was surprised how basic it was. They're gonna be sitting here next to me, essentially. Well, not essentially. The same function, the same lawmaking ability, and so forth. And yet, they subject a whole bunch of questions that I certainly was not subjected to. But that's one side of the equation. On the other side, I'm trying to take comfort in the fact that I'm telling myself the two are not quite the same. I ran, and people had a chance to vet me. People of Lake Forest are not going to have a chance to vet, if that's the right term, these individuals. So perhaps we need to do that. Because people of Lake Forest are not going to have a chance to do that. So, from one end, I'm thinking it's not fair. The other end, I'm thinking maybe I must, maybe I have to actually go through an exhaustive selection process. So it's a toss-up at this point for me, which makes me want to go back to my earlier statement about people speaking as of last year and as of 3 years ago, which I'm not going to go there because it was not on the agenda, and I don't want to say something I'm not supposed to be saying. So at this point, if the application needs to be exhaustive, if three of my colleagues who are a lot more seasoned than I am certainly in minority. I usually am in life, but these three individuals to my right, they are years ahead of me in this. So I just defer to them. Thank you for listening.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just for a little clarity, if I was thumbing through my papers, if I'm correct, you only had about 4, 5 things for them to answer on there. The other things that are in this packet that we were given is the same things that we have to fill out when we're running for council. And hopefully to just give you a little ease of conscience is that you have to realize when we run, our citizens have from, when is our papers pulled, June or July? July, all the way until November to examine us, check on us, and we have forms and all like that. Our citizens are not having that opportunity. If we appoint, we're taking that opportunity away from them. So we do have to have a higher standard. We're taking their opportunity. We have thousands of people that anybody on the street, I don't know about any of the rest of you can go to a restaurant, you can go to a store, somebody will walk up to you and ask you different things and question you on things, but this person is not having that opportunity. So with the resume and the little bit that we're asking for, all the stuff in here, the 700 forms and the conflict of interest, all that stuff, that's normal stuff that we have to do that we did and you have to get trained by law every 2 years to keep that stuff current. So the only thing is, for me, I'm asking for an extensive resume, and then what the city already have, and that we just voted for to do the extensive resume. Now, that's not extensive more, asking them more, that's them getting the opportunity to tell us more about themselves. Some people look good on paper, but when they get at the mic or they get up here, they don't work. And some people are good with, they got a gift of gab, but they don't look good on paper. So this is going to take and balance that out for the ones that has the gift of gab. They can get up here and talk us to death. And for the ones that can write real good, then they'll write us beautiful flower things. And that's going to give us a better decision. Because what you may or may not have put it in the content, we're literally taking the right of our citizens to make that decision and vote. Thousands. I don't think anybody ever ran and got less than 1,000 votes. So you got 4 people that's going to make the decision for all of them. So we do need to be a lot more cautious. And a person that got the right frame of mind for this city, they would not take offense to that. They would say, well, I had to work hard to get up there, so I'm going to do my job. Hopefully that's what they say. Well, I had to work hard for it. I'm going to slack off. Then I'll just be all over them like I usually do, you know. But the thing is this is the right thing to do, where our citizens will know we went that extra mile, even though we didn't give them the right to vote for it because we chose to appoint. We went the extra mile. We asked for the extra so that we could make our best decision. So don't feel that we're slighting anyone. We're doing them a favor, giving them a chance to blah, blah, blah.
Like I said, I totally defer to the 3 of you. I'm confident you see what I don't see. I'm confident you don't know.
Thank you so much.
Well, on that, I bring it back to the city manager. Do you have anything else to discuss?
That I'm clear what it is we're going to do, and I believe this is where we left off, and that is that the council is going to individually provide any additional questions or information they believe is important to the city clerk in time for the staff to put that together by the end of next week. Make sure you get it to us so that we can put it to a form and get it out in the agenda for your next meeting, which will be November 5th. At that point, we would present to the council the final application package that encompasses the things that we've heard here this evening, and bring a calendar for this process back to you simultaneously. So I believe that's the direction that you want us to go in, and so if it's anything to the contrary, you'd want to speak up tonight, right now. Otherwise, I would also say this, Mr. Mayor,
Can't do that.
and that is for anyone who's interested, this agenda this evening, the meeting is certainly on the city's website. If you're interested, you should probably watch this meeting so you can see what the council members said were important to them individually. And you might want to start getting your resume together. You don't need to wait till after November 5th so that people get that jump start going now. So from that perspective, that's what I believe the staff would be doing, and bringing that item back to you for final approval, number 5, and then that process would officially kick off.
So, Mayor Pro Tem.
You said that you're going to give the opportunity for them to fashion questions, okay? Are you going to take and wait on those, or are you going to bring all of them back then, or are we going to get them as they come in?
It's from each of you. We will bring them all back to you at the meeting November 5.
Okay.
But we'll put them in such a fashion so that you can see what those options are, and you can decide the final form of the application.
Okay. November 5, isn't that a regular city council night?
Yes, it is. But this would be,
So it's gonna
the
be
item
on
is
discussion?
only looking at the form itself. It's not, you're not really doing anything beyond that.
Okay. Because, you know, we've been having enough stuff on, and I'm not planning on staying here at 11, 12 o'clock at night, you know. I generally have early meetings the next morning, because I don't have a problem if we have to have a special meeting. It pushes me more, but I don't want the Tuesday night's meetings to get any longer.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, if I could. I think in the instance of this particular item, you're talking about finalizing a form and approving a calendar. I don't think that would unduly probably burden that particular council meeting. But again, remaining flexible, once you see the number of candidates that do actually apply, you may want to talk about how you're going to go forward, and that might very well need to be a special meeting, depending on what that magnitude is.
Thank you.
Councilman Robinson.
And I just wanted to clarify, Mayor Pro Tem McCullough, I wasn't saying I don't want to have special meetings. I just said I would like to have as few as possible, and not for my own benefit. I will be here. If we need to be here, I'll be here every day. It's just more, I want to make sure that so that's the main reason. If we're going to have those special meetings, I want to make sure that they're noticed as well ahead of time as they possibly can be, so that people can be here, because you need to see what's going on. I want everyone to know. I know the media will do their job for sure, and I count on everyone that's in this room to be sharing with those that they're in contact with, and I want this to be as transparent as it possibly can be. So it's a very unique experience. It's something that this city will probably remember for a long, long time. It's something that very few cities have gone through, and I'm trying to do my own personal homework, looking at some of those past experiences and trying to make sure that I personally don't make any mistakes that some council members in other cities wish they hadn't made in the past with respect to this. So, but I have no problem personally with special meetings. I just want to try to limit it as much as possible.
I didn't think you did. No, I would have told you if I had thought you did. I'm just stating that I want to make sure that we don't push it or jam it up where we have so much that we cannot do it justice. That's what I'm saying, and I thought you were on the same page with that. I didn't go sidetrack. No, I heard you. The thing is that it is a very unique situation for any city that has to do this. The one council person that was left in bail, I had quite an extensive talk with him, and it can be very frightening. The thing is that this is something that our city has never done, and I believe that we're going to do the best that we can do. But I don't, and as far as the people being packed in here, that long as we have put it out there and they know this is going on, it's their responsibility to be responsible if they want to say something or they want to apply or anything, because our staff and the media that's here and all the social media things, the blogs and the tweets and all other stuff, Twitter and all that, before you can even get off the premises, that's already on the wire. It's out there. In fact, they're sitting there doing it right now while we're talking. So, and you got your the little video thing going too. So citizens know it's their choice, but that's the main thing we have to do is make it available. But we do people that work for us that live distance, and I know we got two businessmen here that's got to get up and get out the door in the morning. And I usually got to leave very early. So I just want to make it clear to our staff that I don't want it drug, but I do want it thorough. He asked for directions, and I don't have a problem with giving directions. I can delegate, honey, because I don't have to do it, but I don't want my staff to be overburdened, and especially Stephanie, because a lot going to fall in her office. But we want to make sure we do it right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, just quickly, I was glancing at the calendar and thinking about just that, the city clerk and the burden. The agenda for the meeting of November 5th needs to be out to the council actually on Thursday of next week. That's 31st. So I really couldn't suggest the end of next week. So let me suggest that all of your additional questions that you believe are pertinent and you would like to have your colleagues entertain, have those to the staff no later than October 29th. So if you could jot that date down, kind of remind yourselves, maybe the clerk will give you a reminder notice and ask you when we get close to that date. That will give us time by which to ensure that it gets into the agenda and out to you on the 3rd.
So again, that's October 29th,
Yes.
Tuesday.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
by next Tuesday.
Yes, that gives you a week.
I was expecting you to come and move it up. I don't know. I was saying, okay, he's going to push everybody.
So you need any further direction from us?
I believe we have what we need, Mr. Mayor.
You have a city manager's report
I
tonight?
have nothing further this evening.
Bring it back to council. Oh, I'm starting with, right to my left today. Adam.
I thank you all for being here. I certainly am hoping, and I will do my very best, all it takes, whatever it takes, to make sure that, at least on my end, this is transparent. I'll prove to be objective. I will be, and I will prove to you. I'm confident that, at least on my end, you may not agree with me in the end, but I think you will respect it. Again, thank you for being here tonight. I thank the staff, and I thank my three colleagues to my right, from whom I learn every time that I have the pleasure of their company, and tonight was no exception. I learn from them each and every time. I'm grateful to them, to the staff, and most of all to you and to all of those who call Lake Forest home. Thank you. Good evening.
Councilman Robinson.
At the end of the last meeting, I think we all got thrown for a loop. So there were a few things that I wanted to make sure that I brought up. And I don't typically do this. I usually do it one-on-one. I've already done that. But I wanted the residents to know how much I truly appreciate the Economic Development Department, Mr. Belmer, Ms. Gonzalez, and they're doing a great job here in town. We've put on a couple of seminars recently that were very well attended. I got a chance to sit through all of the first one and a good portion of the second one, and I was really impressed by the speakers that we bring in. Also impressed by just the inquisitive nature of a lot of the business owners who live here in town, some that live elsewhere, but just trying to help businesses grow. I said when I was running for city council that would be a main focus of mine, and it will continue to be. But I'm really pleased with what we're doing there, and hope that we can do even bigger and better things to attract business and help those businesses here in town as well. Also, I had a chance to attend the Autumn Festival, the Harvest Festival this weekend. Another great event. Our Park and Recreations Department and our commissioners, they put on some fabulous stuff here in town. So if you don't get a chance to get out to some of this stuff, I really encourage all residents to. I grew up in San Diego, where there's just a ton of history, and a lot of South County doesn't have history. San Juan Capistrano does, obviously. We do here, and Heritage Hill Park's just an amazing place, and I'm so glad that we have that opportunity to share that with all the kids, and they get to see that part of Lake Forest, Old El Toro, that is such a treasure. So just wanted to say thanks to both those departments, and hope you all have a good evening.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. For the came, thank you for coming. Pass the word on. Please encourage. Says my opportunity that is not qualified to not apply. Keep our list down with qualified people, and just because they are very qualified, they may not get chosen, but it gives us a better leverage. And for you that are praying, please pray that we make the right decisions. I appreciate that. And have a safe week. We'll see you, in first of next month, on the 5th. Thank you.
I, too, attended the Lake Forest Haunt Night on Friday night and the Autumn Harvest Festival. And I've got to say that I've got to call him out. Ron Rivera did a wonderful job, along with our park director. Thank you, Gary. You guys did a wonderful job. The kids loved it, the teenagers and the little ones. So the people of Lake Forest should be very proud of the staff that we have. I want to thank you guys all as the staff members for keeping our heads held up high. And before us as a city, we probably have one of the most important decisions we've made in City Council. From the 3 years I've been here, there will be no decision that I've made that will be more thought out and prayed about than the council seat that we are about to appoint in the coming weeks. And so it's important to the citizens that we're putting a placeholder there until the November 2014 election, where the people once again be able to speak. And so I know that we all as council members will put a lot of time and effort and thought into who is that person. So I again want to say that we're very blessed to live here in Lake Forest. We have some great people, and I know there's be some great candidates that put their name on the application. So I want to say that I'll be praying for wisdom, and thank you all for Lake Forest and putting up with us and allowing us to serve you. Thank you. With that, I'll close tonight's meeting.